Okay, William Shakespeare the Poet. So outcomes. In your notebook, follow the citation format for the station as modeled in class. You're going to need to write the meaning of each bolded word in the presentation having to do with sonnets. You can write down the word patron and what you think it means, but you do not have to. The other words, you do. Finally, identify the year Shakespeare's sonnets were published and what year Shakespeare probably began writing sonnets because of an outbreak of plague in London. So, the poet. In the Elizabethan period, poetry was considered romantic and educated. Society looked at poets very positively, unlike playwrights. Theater was actually considered scandalous, while poetry was safe. It was also a way for one writer to show off their talents. A fact, Shakespeare wrote 154 poems called sonnets. That's a type of poem. They were first published in 1609 without his permission, which also means he probably didn't make any money off of the publishing of his works because there was no such thing as copyright back then. So Shakespeare's genius as a poet lies in his style. He didn't just write alternating rhyming poems, roses are red, violets are blue. He wrote a style called a sonnet. A sonnet was 14 lines of alternating rhyme. So one line would have one line of a type of rhyme, another line would have different. So you would identify them as A, B, A, B, or A, B, C, D, because you'd have different lines of alternating rhyme. The last two lines of a sonnet, called a couplet, was consecutive rhyme. So both lines would end with the same rhyme itself. Shakespeare's sonnets followed what was called iambic pentameter. It's a pattern of unstressed and stressed syllables, making 5 pairs. So one stressed and unstressed together is a pair, and that would help measure what's called the meter or the rhythm. An iamb is a foot of meter, which is a stressed and unstressed syllable paired together. Penta means 5, that's your prefix, and meter is rhythm. Okay, so Shakespearean sonnet. I'd like you to take a look at Sonnet 18, which shows the rhyme scheme with the alternating rhyme measured in letters, and we'll do that momentarily. So, let's go take a look. Okay, so Sonnet 18, Shakespeare's, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed, and every fair from fair sometime declines. By chance or nature's changing course untrimmed, but thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest. Nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. So when we look at alternating rhyme, we're looking at the last syllable of the line. Okay? So in this example, it's the sound A. Well, A doesn't work with the sound ut. So this would be an A. This would be a B, because they have different sounds. Now, May sounds like day, so that has the same sound. That's an A. 8. Rate, it's a stretch, I agree, but in this example, it'd be a B because they have the same sound. Now, in this line, eins, that's a different sound. Imd, that's a different sound. Eins again, imd. So this is what alternating rhyme looks like. Now, going back to our presentation, if you want to listen to 130, it's really helpful. You'll again see different example of Shakespeare's sonnets, but you don't have to. So why did Shakespeare write poetry? Shakespeare wrote poetry for a couple reasons, so scholars claim. We don't know because he didn't tell us. The first reason was because plague struck in 1593, forcing the closure of theaters, so Shakespeare's plays couldn't be performed. And he had to make money, and this was the way to do it. Plus there's an audience. Second reason was because his patron paid him to write it. All right, a patron was someone who basically pays your bills. The third reason, and it's a guess, but it's because we think he wanted to show off. And who can blame him? He was a genius. All right, so that's Shakespeare the Poet. Just so you know, another name for poet, bard, B-A-R-D. That's what Shakespeare was called, the bard. So,